Rabbi,
Yes.
do you have the right to fight?
I have the right to fight.
This is the review of Brothers.
Yeah, this film's shit.
Alright, so give us an overview.
This is a film that is based on a Hollywood film called Warrior. The story goes like this. We have two brothers. Sidharth Malhotra plays Monty. Akshay Kumar plays David. And they have a father, Jacqueline Fernandez, played by Jackie Shroff. Garson is released from jail. We don't know why. There was a crime committed. He was put away, but he's free now. And Monty goes to pick him up. But David wants nothing to do with Garson and Monty. David has a daughter. David's daughter is very sick and he gets fired from his job. He just happens to be an MMA fighter part-time. And he enters the biggest tournament in Indian MMA history. But, little to his knowledge, so does Monty, trained by Garson, their dad. And that is where the drama begins.
Okay, guys, there's so many holes in this film. The biggest hole is you have two brothers. Now, it is called Brothers, so brothers, there should be some serious interaction with these guys. There should be this journey that starts and keeps you going throughout the whole film about the closeness, about the separation, about what is happening in their lives and why they are where they are when they get to fight night.
Instead, we get a montage from when they were little, and we understand that Monty loves David and David loves Monty, until this one night where everything goes wrong. Can't tell you why, but that's when Jackie Shroff's character commits a crime. And we then jump forward 25 years, and they've had no interaction whatsoever, and we're supposed to believe, with no basis, that these are two brothers, and we're supposed to feel the conflict. We're supposed to feel that they don't want to fight each other, but they are doing it reluctantly. Instead, what we get is David, played by Akshay Kumar, who's actually pretty good. He plays his role well. He has a family. He has a daughter who's in trouble. Easy to sympathise with. And you've got Monty, who's basically an alcoholic man-child with daddy issues, and is impossible to sympathise for. And they have no chemistry.
Now, let's not forget, this is a remake of the film Warriors. And the one thing, well, a number of things, but the one true thing that Warrior did well for me was, and for a lot of other people, is that you weren't sure who you wanted to see win. Alright? That was the journey of Warrior. You're like kind of torn between the two characters. You know their background and what they've been through. It's difficult, it's tough, but you're not sure who you're yeah, thank you. I've been punched in the mouth as I can't pronounce the word, rooting for, right? In this, you know exactly who you want to see win.
and this is Jacqueline Malhotra. You're terrible. This shows you why Bollywood gets a bad reputation for storytelling. That's what fundamentally this story is really badly told. It's an easy story to tell, right? How much conflict are you supposed to feel when two brothers are going to fight each other? A hell of a lot. It's a pretty easy story to tell. Jacqueline Malhotra does a piss poor job, and instead, you said it in the car and all the way through it, you're supposed to feel these emotions, and rather than feeling them through character or through scenes and sequences that happen in the film, you are supposed to feel it in this film with the loudest soundtrack in the history. So much so that, what did you say to me?
It's almost as if that in the editing suite, whilst Jacqueline Malhotra is watching the edit, the cut of the film, he sees that, wait a minute, this part doesn't work, that part doesn't work. So let's get people slightly jazzed up by rocking the music super loud, alright? And you know what, you're distorted, your mind itself. When you're watching a film like that and you're not attached to what's happening within the film, when they bump up the music, automatically your emotions are sort of high. Well, you change straight away. You're more sort of not actually to the story, but you're more glued to the sound. That in this case, it was super loud for us, wasn't it? In cinema,
it was really jarring. It throws you out of the film, and so much so that Simon said to me, he goes, "Can we move to the back because this is so freaking loud?" So the soundtrack's really overbearing, and it's used to mask probably the worst editing I've ever seen in a film, and I mean that because
you actually thought the editing was really bad.
It was terrible. There were
I know it's bad, but
well, not because like okay, editing in terms of in a single scene, like the fight editing was fine and all that. But what I mean is when you're editing's about transitioning, right? So when you were trying to move from one part of the story to the next, you can tell there was a scene that was probably filmed to bridge a gap. For example, I don't remember any scene in the film, maybe I missed it, where Akshay Kumar has a conversation with his wife who clearly doesn't want him to fight about going to actually join this tournament, the training and all of that stuff. It just kind of happens. It's so poorly paced from one sequence to the next, one scene to the next, doesn't stitch any of it together. And then there's the really bad stuff, like this is classic 70s Bollywood filmmaking. Thunder and lightning equals bad.
Yeah, you know, we had this conversation on the way back from the cinema where it friggin' felt like a horror movie because of the lightning. It's almost as if we know something's bad's gonna happen. We get it, but don't try to cheat us out by throwing the thunder and lightning and then this crazy soundtrack on top. Yeah. We actually felt ripped off whilst watching that because of the soundtrack on the movie. But to make it even worse, the second half was a fucking music video.
Yeah, it was a straight up and down music video. Before we, because this is like all our reviews, it's going to kind of jump about a bit. I just want to talk about something that you obviously go through this transition, right? You see the boys as when they were kids to try and make you build up some kind of, you know, feelings towards them, some kind of sentiment, and it's really heavy-handed because the soft kind of caring boy, who at a younger age, right, turns into the gritty douchebag, right? He turns into the prick. And then the kind of, you know, the Akshay Kumar's character, David, who's really thoughtful and considerate of the other, of Monty when he's younger, somehow when he grows up can't be mature enough, and he clearly is mature, isn't mature enough to reach out to Monty and maybe say, hey, actually it was probably a bad thing that I pushed you away from the family. Like, there was so many conflicts, like it was easy, cheap filmmaking.
That's a good way of putting it. Easy, cheap filmmaking. I like that because that's what it exactly felt like. You know what? This we could cast this film off. So the one thing, and I know you have a slightly different view to it. You guys, we're super big MMA fans, so we know what we're talking about when we compare this film. All right, and we look at it as a mixed martial art film. It's a very serious piece as far as we're concerned. So if it's a serious piece, then get the mixed martial art right. It was all over the place. Fights like that just don't happen. When you watch proper mixed martial arts, Warrior had its moments of bad martial art fighting, but this was just beyond. It felt like when they were in the cage, they had superpowers, so you could kick someone and they would go from one side all the way to the other side of the cage and bounce up. And you know what, at that, because it's a mixed martial art film, because we love MMA, when we see stuff like that, it throws us off because it no longer is realistic, and I think that's the problem with it. Yeah. It's trying to do this super cool job of trying to be a very serious, realistic film, and it just can't do it.
No, you know, you raise the point, and you're right. There's, you know, the weight classes are all over the place, things like that. It throws you out a little bit, and it's a bit. You said it. It's a bit WWE. It's a bit wrestling rather than MMA. I have to say this, Akshay Kumar was the single redeeming feature of this film. He acted well, I believed him when he was emotional, even when he wasn't speaking. And they did a good job of the whole, him and Jacqueline Fernandez, right? She saved his life in a way. All he had was his MMA, street fights, and the sequence where she kind of almost reached out to him when they were younger, when they first got together. It was really beautifully done. She was a redeeming character because you couldn't help but like her, and therefore her family, and therefore you rooted for Akshay Kumar, and he did a stand-up job. Sidharth Malhotra is dreadful in this movie. he either you're told to method act a little bit, right? I hope he didn't watch Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy was brilliant as the moody, stoic, disgruntled
I think
brother.
he did. He must have. He must have. He must have watched it.
I would hope so. I would hope so. But if he did and he tried to mimic him, then he's just a bad actor.
Yeah, I think that's what
one emotion.
That's what it felt like. It felt like that he tried to mimic Tom Hardy's character, and he couldn't play it off right.
Just could not do it. He was terrible. And Jackie Shroff.
Oh my god.
I've never seen anybody overact like that. Right? Literally, if this was in shaky cam, that would be his hands the whole way.
Yeah, he's like, what the, everyone had arthritis in the film. For the first half, everyone's crying, and for the second half, you've got this full-blown music video with fight scenes.
Yeah, and there were whole chunks missing to accommodate the music video, because it was trying to build hype. It's like dun 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 dun. It was like, it's just too much. So we're all over the place because the film's all over the place. There's Kareena Kapoor, what the hell was she doing in the film?
I say this. I didn't mind Kareena Kapoor just, her popping in and doing her little dance number. But when Kareena Kapoor, although we're not huge, yeah, she's an alright looking chick, right? But when she's dancing like that against Karan Malhotra,
no, Sidharth Malhotra.
Sidharth Malhotra, right? And he's just getting up and saying, you know what, stay away from me, don't dance next to me. You know what, it just didn't work, man, because I would be all over that if she was dancing like that next to me.
Yeah. And that's the point. A lot of stuff happens in this film for no reason. So, we talked about it in the car. Monty had absolutely no reason to hate David the way he did. None.
And that is, I think, where we kind of see that, because that's exactly it. At the very end when we walked out, we said, why is Montysaurus upset with David?
No reason. There is no motivation. In any film, you need motivation to buy the protagonist. There was none. And he just came across childish and petulant and nothing redeeming. Jackie Shroff's character, he gets really weird and upset and just all crazy about the fact they're fighting, and then when one of them wins, he just goes, "Aah!" And it doesn't make any sense. You should feel relief, not joy. Like it's strange. It's just some really bad choices, and someone needed to keep this film in check.
I really feel Karan Malhotra sort of lost control of this movie. Maybe there was a lot of interference, maybe from Lionsgate, maybe from Derma Productions. I don't know, but somewhere along the line, someone dropped the ball, and you know what? He sure felt like he had a seriously bad day at the office. Yeah. I also want to say, it doesn't make apart from Monty being angry with David, that didn't make no sense. But Monty is a freaking alcoholic, alright? He's an alcoholic. You don't see him hardly ever train except for the point when he's going to be entering this tournament, and all of a sudden he has these superpowers where he can knock dudes out with one punch.
Yeah.
Come on!
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. As I say, you guys know, but Jacqueline Fernandez, beautiful, stunning, redeemed moments of the film for me, hot as hell. And actually, her small moments actually felt quite nice. Her relationship with Akshay Kumar, despite the obvious kind of age gap and stuff, it felt quite nice. And I could believe their little family unit. Their family unit was okay. But everything else in this, listen guys, we don't spend 4 hours of our day expecting to go watch films that really we feel like we're wasting our time, and that's what this felt like. It felt like a waste of time.
Alright, go on, wrap it up.
So, when boxers and fighters and MMA fighters are evaluated in the early days, coaches will describe them saying he's got good technique, etc, etc. Sometimes fighters are described as heavy-handed. This film is a self-referential metaphor. It is heavy-handed, it is blunt, it is emotionless. This is the film version of Brock Lesnar. It's just a big block. That's all it is. It's a blunt instrument with nothing behind it. It's Terrible.
Alright, I'm gonna have to throw this film and say, actually throw it off the bridge, but also add, it felt like to me that a lot like The Fighters that were getting beaten up, this film also felt like it was getting beaten up every 15 minutes, alright, to the point it tapped out.
Yeah.
It tapped out.
That's it. You're right. That's it. That's it.
Guys, episode of Body Fools, it's your boy Salem.
It's Ravi.
Peace out.
Take care.